Millennials are tired, burned out, exhausted. We are the generation that came of age during recessions, skyrocketing housing costs, endless hustle culture, and now we're juggling careers, families, and this constant pressure to do everything. So it's no wonder that so many of us are craving stories that feel different. Stories that don't push us to the brink of stress, but instead let us breathe. That's where cozy fantasy comes in. Today, I want to share why cozy fantasy is the perfect genre for burned out millennials, along with some of my favourite recommendations. And of course, a little about the cozy fantasy that I am writing myself. Hey, hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melanie Steele and I write all things cozy. My latest non-fiction book, The Cozy Living Collection, is out now, and my upcoming cozy fantasy novel, The Lunar Quartz Library, will be published in autumn 2025. First off, if you're not entirely sure what cozy fantasy is, allow me to explain. So, cozy fantasy books are focused on everyday magic, found family, small communities, and gentle stakes instead of saving the world from destruction. The characters might just be saving a tea shop, or learning how to heal after loss, or just finding where they belong in the world. It is the opposite of high fantasy like Tolkien or Game of Thrones. Cozy fantasy is about slowing down. The characters in these books are taking plenty of tea and pastry breaks whilst they plan to save the local cafe or go on a little adventure in the next town. For millennials, these stories feel like medicine. In these worlds, the problems are minor. The pace of life is slow. No one is working all the hours just to afford to live. Pure escapism. And these books speak to simpler times, maybe like those experienced by our grandparents, which fill us with a sense of nostalgia and peace. So, whilst high stakes fantasy, romantasy, and other genres will always have a place, obviously, I'm so happy that those of us who prefer a little less drama in our books now have a whole array of stories that echo our worldview and offer us cozy and charming worlds to escape into. After all, our real lives right now already feel like high stakes. The world very much feels like it's on fire, and anxiety for most people is through the roof. We don't need more battles, more stress, more grim, dark plots. We need comfort. We need calm. We need books that remind us that joy, community, and peace are important too. So if you are in need of some cozy fantasy recommendations, I've got you covered. If you're ready for a book that makes you feel comforted and calm and cozy, and you are ready to say goodbye to high drama and high stakes, even just for a little bit, here are some recommendations just for you. Let's start with the book that really put cozy fantasy on the map for a lot of people. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. It's about an orc mercenary who decides that she's done with adventuring in that life, and instead she just wants to open a coffee shop. That's it. And yet it's one of the most heartwarming, soothing reads that you'll ever pick up. Yes, there are a couple of issues along the way. After all, every story needs a little conflict, but nothing that can't be fixed by working together with the local community, who have become quite fond of this new coffee drink that she has introduced them all to. Legends and Lattes is about starting over and building a new life and finding community, all themes that resonate so deeply with us as burned out millennials. Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is the prequel, has been on my TBR for months. I'm going to get round to reading it soon for sure. Next up, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This one is about a middle-aged caseworker who inspects orphanages for magical children, and he's sent on a life-changing assignment to a very unusual house. It's whimsical, yes, but at its core, it's about belonging, acceptance, and the power of found family. It's also a reminder that it's never too late to change your life, which I think speaks directly to where so many of us are in midlife. It's easy to change your life in, say, your 20s when you don't have a lot of obligations. It's a lot harder when you're in your 30s, 40s, beyond, when you've probably got a family, a career, caring responsibilities, a mortgage. That's why stories like this are so important. Then we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett. I loved this one. It follows a socially awkward professor studying fairies in a remote village. On the surface, it's like a cozy academic fantasy, but beneath that, it's really about connection, friendship, and learning to let people in. It's very charming, a little prickly in places, and full of kind of these wintry, light academia vibes. Perfect for anyone who works in or has an interest in academia, and of course fairies. I have to say, the depictions of fairies in this book, so much more in line with actual scholarship on the subject, a refreshing change from just about every other book on the Fae right now. I have the second book on my TBR, and I'll be adding the third book in this series once I've read the second book. Another one I absolutely adore is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandanna. It's about a lonely witch who's called to teach 3 young witches how to control their magic. What she finds is not just a new purpose, but a home and a little romance to boot. The book is very warm, funny, full of love, and it's about community, vulnerability, and the courage to be yourself. Honestly, it feels like a hug in book form. Her next book, The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, is out now and looks to be just as cozy. And finally, I have to recommend The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is about a librarian who finds herself on the run with a stash of magical spell books. She ends up in a quiet island village where she's trying to build a new life, and of course, things don't go as planned. This book gets bonus points for having a sentient plant and some truly magical wildlife even, including merhorses. What I love about this story is that it's about choosing a slower, simpler way of living and finding belonging in unexpected places. It's full of cozy magic, cottage by the sea vibes, and that sense of rebuilding your life feels so relatable for so many of us. And of course, I can't talk about cozy fantasy without mentioning my own, the Lunar Quartz library. So like The Spellshop, my book is all about finding belonging in unexpected places. It's less about saving the world, and it's more about finding your place in the world, which I think is exactly what so many of us are craving. I also wanted to explore in my book the idea of starting over, something that feels really close to home for a lot of us in our kind of 30s and 40s and beyond. Cozy fantasy gives us that permission to imagine second chances, different paths taken, and that's very much at the heart of my story. At its core, my book is about comfort and community. It's a story meant to feel like a warm blanket and a cup of tea. Gentle, cozy, and safe. If you've enjoyed the books I've mentioned, like Legends and Lattes or The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, I think you'll find that my book is in the same spirit as those. At the time of filming, I am deep into edits with an anticipated publication date of autumn 2025. And if you want to keep up to date with my progress and be the first to know when it's going to be published, I would invite you to sign up for my newsletter down below. Bonus, you'll receive the first chapter for free. So why does cozy fantasy matter so much for burned out millennials? Because it gives us permission to rest. It tells us that healing, friendship and joy are worthy stories. So not everything has to be about saving the world or achieving the impossible. Sometimes it's enough just to make a home, build a community, and find your place in the world. And honestly, that's what so many of us are searching for right now in our own lives. So if you've been feeling burned out, I encourage you to pick up one of these cozy fantasy books, or maybe even try writing your own, like I did. Stories have the power to heal us, and cozy fantasy is proof of that. I'd love to know in the comments what cozy fantasy book has comforted you recently, or if you haven't read one yet, which of these recommendations sounds like most your vibe. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more cozy fantasy chats, book recommendations, and behind the scenes of my own writing process. Until next time, stay cozy and happy reading. Bye.